I wondered if you could give me some brief experience about your past history in sourcing venture capital.
Started really in about 1995 with the first startup company that I was a part of. It was actually a joint project with my father. He was coming to the end of a project he was doing. I was writing code on Sunday night at 11:30 in Santa Clara, wondering how the heck did this happen to me. There's got to be a better way. So we agreed to create a company which was started right around 92 or so.
And so would your father have been a mentor then, obviously, in your process of becoming an entrepreneur?
Sure. I mean, in a lot of ways. I mean, I maybe I'm misunderstanding, but I saw us as kind of co-conspirators, really. Okay. He for his reasons, and me for my reasons, trying to kind of write our own path as opposed to being kind of stuck in the path that was being handed, if you will.
Yeah.
And then right around 95, we thought we had something that was venture worthy, and we thought it was. It was kind of a learning process to actually have those conversations with venture. Luckily, we had a few relationships that were able to open some doors.
Okay.
And in retrospect, as that company it came to its conclusion, I looked back on it and realized we had really no idea what we were doing.
Okay.
No idea how to conduct the conversation, no idea how to even really build the product we were proposing to build. It was just a time, I think, where we were fortunate enough that there was enough optimism that folks were willing to say, well, it seems like some lessons were learned. You have this new idea, we'll reinvest and see if you can make a go of that. And that one ended up working. So we had to we raised the money, sort of had to throw away what we had built because it frankly was never going to fly. And I like to say that it had 4 or 5 fatal flaws, any one of which would have killed it.
Okay.
But anyway, so that company eventually had a successful liquidity event right around 98. So we sort of all thought we knew what we were doing at that point. We felt pretty smart. Little did we know that was just sort of like chapter 1, you know.
In the venture episode.
Well, just building a company. I mean, for me,
okay.
So for me, building a company is really the challenge.
Yes.
And dealing with the venture folks is just a part of the plan.
Yes.
Assuming you have a venture, a business that matches what the venture guys are trying to do.
Yes, I understand.
A lot of businesses just don't have that match.
Yeah.
And frankly, when we started that first company, we didn't either. Just none of us really knew it. And frankly,
yeah.
We were fortunate, I think, to kind of discover something along the way.
Okay.
And then the second company, we self-funded the beginning, and that was right around 99, 2000, which ended up being a software as a service application, project portfolio management. Now it's more focused on IT governance. That company is called Innotas.
Okay.
They're in the market today, doing really well.
Great.
But we self-funded that to the point where it really became clear that, one, if we didn't get a lot more capital, we were going to miss a window.
Yes.
And we had survived the tech recession, which was long and painful and very costly to the founders and the sort of angel investors. So
yes.
It was a combination of the time was now, and we were kind of running out of fuel. So we raised venture again, 2005. We were a little bit smarter about it this time, I think. Certainly not masters of it. I mean, the venture guys do venture all day long.
Yes.
That's all they do.
Yes.
The entrepreneurs, it's very much a part-time job. So it's sort of, you have to know you're going into the room without the sort of the deal-making skills that they have, and
yes.
And that's worked out fairly well. That company has been able to use the capital reasonably efficiently and growing very well. And
you sold that company, okay.
So the second company is in the market now in growth mode,
okay.
Has a lot of very happy customers.
Okay.
And really, I think, well positioned, unique position.
And
good team.
Will there be an exit with that?
Most likely there'll be some kind of liquidity event.
Okay.
That's what the investors are after.
Yes.
Right. They have their limited partners.
Yes.
Who have a certain expectation.
Yes.
Of a return.
Yes.
And so certainly I imagine there'll be some liquidity event in the foreseeable future.
Okay.
I'm not actively involved in the company day to day.
No. And how much did you raise in that last company?
We did a couple rounds. The first was about $5.5 million, and then a couple of subsequent rounds. I'm not sure what the total amount is right now, but it's around 10, I'd say.
Okay, great, thank you. Now, as an entrepreneur, this is a conversation that's been on the web a lot. I wondered how it's been for you raising a family and with all the work demands and pressures that we have as entrepreneurs. It's almost like a 24-hour job, really.
Yeah.
I just wondered how you've managed to balance that. If you have any work-life balance.
Yeah, to me, I think it's really important to spend time with my kids and my family as much as I can.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, the thinking you're doing is not sitting at a desk. And I think time away from it is actually really good as well.
Yes.
That said, it is a bit of a consuming experience, and it often takes a long time. And there's a lot of financial uncertainty for the family often. We've certainly been up and down the financial sine wave, the personal financial sine wave. So you also need a partner who is going to be able to ride the risk wave with you.
And supportive.
Yeah, and just kind of understanding that's the life you're living, and help to make it work. And I'm pretty lucky that I have that.
Sound like you're blessed, yeah.
And also in our case, I run the business of the company, and in many ways I don't do much else. I don't even do our taxes. Right? I mean, my wife takes care of keeping the business of our family afloat.
Great.
So that really helps a lot. I don't have to think about work stuff all day long, and then go home and figure out how we're going to refinance the house with the new rates. That would just be, frankly, kind of miserable.
And so that's a remarkable experience that you've managed to have the right ingredients and the right people to actually maintain some sort of balance. And that's fantastic, a great success story.
A smart, tolerant wife is, I guess, what I would say.
I note that you volunteer to support female entrepreneurs pitching for venture capital, which, hooray for you. Have you noticed differences in the way women pitch or build businesses through that experience, and also through your own businesses? Not
really. I haven't noticed a big difference.
Okay.
Other than the actual feminine presence of them in the room. But no, I think that, and I don't know if we're going to cover this a little bit, but I think that the discrepancy in men versus women in businesses is sort of a historical fact.
Yes.
So that doesn't really need to be discussed.
Right.
In some businesses more than others, perhaps in some sectors more than others. In fact, I read an article recently about how there's a fair number of women in sort of life science.
Yes.
Whereas IT, it's a pretty small number.
Yeah.
So that's the historical fact. But I think that if a woman is gonna pitch and raise money and trying to build a business, the issues really just are about their business skills.
Great.
I think it's really all that matters.
Great.
So if a woman knows, if a person knows how to sell, if a person knows how to build a product, if a person knows how to manage finance, if a person knows how to create a vision, if a person knows how to inspire other people, if a person knows how to get people to come together and solve really hard problems, those are the skills that matter. Those are going to come through if you have them or not. Yeah. And in my experience with women in business and men in business is that gender really just doesn't really seem to be a part of the puzzle.
Right.
What matters is, can they solve those problems? Can they perform those complicated duties?
And all those skills that you've mentioned are skills that an entrepreneur needs to have.
Yes.
To actually even start on that journey.
And sort of an expectation that this may take a while.
Yes.
And this is where things get really kind of hard,
Patience.
Especially on the family side of things and the cash flow side of things. So
yes.
I don't know if I'm answering your question, but I would say I think the successful entrepreneurs don't think about, oh, I'm a female entrepreneur, I'm a male entrepreneur. They think, here's the business, here's the opportunity, here's the risk, here's the cost. And I've read recently attempts, and I've seen it, and when I see people present this way, it kind of makes me cringe. That well, women do better in collaborative environments.
Yes.
I think once you open the door by saying women do better at X, you're in trouble.
And your explanation for that?
Because it suggests that now there are maybe areas in which they don't do as well. So now you've opened this door for all of these generalizations. Oh, so if women are good at collaborative environments, then men aren't. Well, that's not true.
Yeah.
Or if women are good at collaborative environments, they're not good in hierarchical environments. Well, that's clearly not true.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
that's a good point.
and then it also opens up the question: well, if women are better at this, then men are better at that. So I think that's a real danger zone, and I guess
not a path to go down.
I would avoid that path completely.
Okay. Very good. That's a great point, actually.
Well, and I think, but it's the historical, the empirical fact is still in front of us.
Yes.
Right. There.
Thank you.
2% of women in IT running IT. So what's that about? Why? I really don't know.
Yeah.
I just think that the solution to that is not about gender. It's about solving the problem.
Right. And in that experience of supporting female entrepreneurs that you've been doing, have you noticed that there are any obstacles for women sourcing venture? Is it this historical fact, do you think? Or because what do they say, between 5-8% of women are actually achieving venture funding?
Raising venture is hard for anybody.
Okay.
It's the really small number gets funded.
Okay.
I haven't looked recently, but I wanted to say like 2% get funded, and probably 10% of those have some kind of a successful outcome. Those are really rough numbers.
Arbitrary, yeah.
So it's hard anyway. And it could just be that they're not being encouraged. I haven't done the research. I've been so busy building companies that I haven't focused on the sort of the statistics of how many pitches do women give versus men, and what's the progression of their stages to funding. So
and there's nothing that you've noticed overtly in your experience with venture capitalists and entrepreneurs that you would say may be an obstacle.
Well, so let's talk about some of the women VCs I've talked to, and I know several. The ones that I've talked to don't care if the entrepreneur is a man or woman. They want an opportunity. Yeah. They want something that's going to have a return for their fund and for them. Great. They want to be successful too. Yes. So I haven't experienced an overt difference at that level. I mean, that game is about low risk, high reward.
Yes.
If they say high risk, high reward, they're not telling you the truth. Okay. Investors are looking for low risk, high reward.
Yes, I know. They mask it or cloak it a little, don't they, when they talk about it?
Some do. Some are pretty open about it.
You've spoken about some of the qualities that an entrepreneur generally needs. Are there any qualities that you think specifically women entrepreneurs need for sourcing venture?
Well, one I would say is, don't make it about the fact that you're a woman. That's irrelevant. Right. I would completely say who cares?
Yep. Forget about gender.
I would say both for men and women, the key is for me, I would say is a real keen understanding of your strengths and weaknesses.
Okay. As a human being.
You need to know what you're good at.
Okay.
And you can't be delusional about what you're good at. Having been delusional about what I was good at in the past and being smacked about the head by the market.
That's very open of you.
Well, it's the market is a quick and brutal teacher.
Yes.
So I would say a really keen sense of what you're good at. Okay. People talk about building a really good team, and we invest in teams, or we invest in markets, and we invest in products. Yeah. Some of that stuff's true. Some of that's just sort of blanket positioning. But from an entrepreneur standpoint, I think you gotta. My view is the more you are aware of what you're good at. So maybe you're really good at selling and marketing. Maybe you're great at managing cash.
Yes.
Maybe you really understand exquisitely product development lifecycle.
Yes.
Each one of those is going to have its own strengths and weaknesses that you need to be aware of. So you come in with a really strong sales background, that venture is going to say, okay, this person knows how to sell. Can they bring the skills to the table to build a product that'll scale?
Yes. Yes.
Do they even know if the talent they have is the right talent because they
Yes.
don't have enough experience to know. If you come from the product side, there's going to be a question about can that person sell.
Yes.
Anyway, so I'd say that the awareness there is.
Of your strengths and weaknesses.
I gave a presentation to ASTIA, I guess 2 years ago maybe, about
Yes.
risk management.
Right.
And I said, it was about 50 CEOs or fledgling CEOs in the room. I said, the single biggest weakness in your company is you.
Yeah.
You are the biggest weakness. If
Mm.
you are really bad at managing cash and you don't know it, you're in trouble right now.
Okay. Yeah. Point taken.
Yeah.
It sounds like that's good advice for just being human in the world too.
Well, and certainly for starting a business, because
Yeah.
the lights are bright.
Yeah, you're on the front lines then.
The lights
Yeah.
are bright, and
Yeah. Everything's going to be magnified. Thank you.